Welcome back to my Legends Expanded Universe chronological timeline rating, where I go through my personal timeline list and rank every individual piece of media on a 10-point scale. Today we have Danzigorro Potts Datacard. This was by Ryder Wyndham and was found in Jedi vs. Sith: The Essential Guide to the Force. It's a short story that was published in 2007, and it takes place in 24,500 BBY. It was published by Del Rey. And in this one, we learn some very interesting stuff. We learn that for the past 500 years, the Jedi have been at peace. They've really not had an enemy. They've had a few dark Jedi here and there, it's mentioned. That there's been a handful of Jedi gone rogue. But for the most part, it's been peace. No evil Jedi, just peace in the galaxy, no enemies for the Jedi. But then we learn about a evil Jedi who's gone rogue named Zendor, and Zendor has united followers behind him, and he has basically said that the Jedi's teachings are too rigid, and he said, we don't need to follow rigid meditation, we don't need to be locked in by rules, we should be free with the Force. And so obviously this was very popular and attracted a huge following. So when this story takes place, when we get right into it, it's presented as a Datacard, a lost, recovered Datacard from a Jedi Padawan named Danzigorro Potts. It's his last words that he recorded on a Datacard at at Columbus, yeah. So at Columbus, where Zendor was defeated and killed, in the final battle between Zendor and his legions of Leto and the Jedi Order, Danzigorro survives the battle, gets news that Zendor's dead, but he's dying. He's, bleeding out. And he laments that he'd like to see a not dead familiar face, a friendly face, a sunset. He's pretty beaten and weary by this point, and his throat's dry, he's getting cold, night is falling. He knows he's dying, and he wants to leave by departing some wisdom. And he explains how lots of Jedi he knew joined the legions of Leto, including his own master, whose name was Juke Habruzin, is the name. Juke Habruzin. So he mentions how his own master, Juke Habruzin, joined the legions of Leto, and he had to kill his own master on Coralag. He ran him through, his own master. But then his best friend from childhood, named Blendry, who he'd grown up with, Blendry had taught him the Force. He lamented that Blendry may have been annoyed by the rigidness that she had to live in with the Jedi Order, but she was a great friend to him, and she taught him the ways of the Force. She was his best friend, and he killed Blendry on the battlefield that day at Columbus, and even killed Blendry's apprentice, Catholux. He killed them, and he lamented that, it's a shame. And he also had a very interesting observation. He said that the Jedi need a common enemy to rally against, otherwise they'll end up fighting each other. Those were pretty much his last words. And then that Datacard, it says, was recovered, and it turned into several operas on Coruscant. So leave it to the people of the Star Wars galaxy to turn tragic events into a play. But so Danzigorro died there. And it's very interesting because the Sith are not around at the time. The Sith, as an order, do not exist still. 24,500 BBY. There's been a couple rogue Jedi, a couple Jedi gone dark here and there. But nothing concretely Sith. No order. So the first dark legion the Jedi faced were Zendor and the legions of Leto. And they weren't even true Sith. They just believed in freer thinking, being looser with all the rules that constricted them in the Force. This is very interesting here. It's a very interesting observation. The Jedi and the Sith are the yin and the yang. They're the good and the evil, and they're constantly fighting, eternally at war. And without that, the Jedi would turn to infighting, like Danzigorro Potts observed. Great observation there. This is a really solid story. Overall positives. The writing style to this is really good. You've just met the character and you still feel the anguish. He's had to kill people he loves. He's had to watch people he loved die as he watches friends and family torn apart, killing each other on opposite sides of the war. Some join the legions of Leto, some join the Jedi. You can really feel the anguish in the writing style. His last words, they're painful to read. Ryder Wyndham did a great job with the writing style here. So this is definitely a solid 6 of 10 for me. 6 of 10. That's the highest short story rating yet. I don't know what it is, but I just love everything about the short story. It's really, really, really well written. But what about you guys? What do you think of this short story? And if you've not read it yet, I have news for you. The Revanchist, Marcel Ryan, on YouTube, whose channel link will be in the description, or the video where he reads this short story, because he is reading all of the Expanded Universe short stories in chronological order, and this one is on there. So if you have not read Danzigorro Potts' Datacard, go over there and listen to his audio, and follow along. Get the short story up and read it while you listen to him in your headphones. It'll keep you on pace. It'll make sure your mind doesn't wander and get the story read in a set amount of time. He does a great job with the Danzigorro Potts Datacard because he really reads Danzigorro Potts' last words with an anguish and a pain. You can still understand him, but you can feel the strain the way he reads it. So he does an excellent job reading that short story. So Danzigorro Potts, 6 of 10. If you've not read it, head over to Marcel and come back here and let me know what you think of this short story. I think it was a super good read, especially for a short story.